since 1956, so the field is actually quite mature. There are computer techniques that can allow you to analyze sort of image and extract lines and shapes, and you can look at the characteristics of brightness, color, and so on. So of course, it's mostly use Photoshop, and you have digital cameras. You have some idea, right, what I'm talking about. So for example, when you take a picture with digital camera, you probably have the option to look at the histogram. So histogram is basically, what is histogram? Right? So the computer analyzes every pixel in the image, extracts its brightness or its color, and shows you a kind of distribution of its brightness or color values, and then it's a kind of visual representation, so how good or how bad your image is, so you can go correct the histogram. Well, there are lots and lots of other techniques. So what we did is we basically analyzed what happens on the screen, right, the visual structure of the screens, and we got this timeline. And I will come back later to this image, and I will actually show you what these curves are, which explains how we analyze it. But we got this timeline, which is a kind of record of some aspects of a person interaction in a video game. Specifically, my postdoc Jeremy Douglas is theorizing that you can think about personal interaction in a video game in terms of different modes. So, for example, you load in a particular type of menu, you engage in a 3D combat, you engage in watching full motion video, right? So there are different types of activities inside the video game, right? And it turns out that it's relatively easy to extract this type of activities, and here's a timeline where different colors indicate this type of activities. Now, if you make it for one person playing one game, so interesting, and you can write your SZ or whatever it is you want to write, but imagine being able to record this for, let's say, 20 people playing the same game. So now you can then combine these visualizations, and you can visualize a kind of space of possible games, right? A space of possible experiences that this one particular game makes possible, right? As activated by 20 different players. Now imagine you go to the next step, and you now record multiple people playing hundreds and hundreds of games. And then you can actually analyze differences, similarities, and patterns across all these different recordings. So I think the possibilities are kind of fantastic, and this is what we're slowly kind of working in our lab. Now let me kind of show you a third example. And again, this is simply just a way to help us all. Well, I know you've been here for a while, but I just arrived last night, so this is just a wake-up call, and then we'll actually start exploring all these issues much more systematically. Let me show you a third example. A very visible way. It's not PowerPoint, but I want to show you big ones. Okay. So in this example, we said, how do you use this approach, right? How do you use kind of software as a tool to do art history? Well, to a certain extent, right, modern academic disciplines which study culture were made possible by particular media technologies, right? So art history was made possible by slides, right? You can make slides of artworks, and you can project the slides in class. And maybe some of you are old enough to remember when people always project two slides, right? So the whole art history is about always comparing two things, and then probably without a film projector and a VCR, you wouldn't have emergence of a discipline of film studies, which, as far as I understand, really emerges in the US formally in the 1970s. So you can say, well, if people have access to, let's say, contemporary media, kind of more advanced media browsers, and information visualization tools, and data analysis tools, which are commonly used in sciences, what kind of new, let's say, cultural disciplines in general, or what is a new kind of art history would become possible. So this is just, again, a small experiment in this direction. Okay, so so a graduate student taking my class says, Lev, let's work on Mark Rothko. Yes, of course, he's a canonical painter, right? He's a kind of abstract expressionist, and so maybe it's not necessarily the most interesting thing to work on canonical people, because of course, if you can analyze millions and millions of artworks, photographs, and videos and so on, it's actually to me much more interesting to work on, let's say, vernacular culture, right? Or kind of a history without names. So if I want to try to analyze what are the different genres which exist on YouTube, I can potentially do it, but as a way to get started, in some experiments we actually used very, very kind of canonical people or sets of canonical people, because so much is written about them, you actually know, you kind of know what you expect to find, right? Whereas YouTube or contemporary graphic design, interactive design, you actually don't really know what the field is in a way, because it's so new. Okay, so the thing about Rothko, right, is that he's kind of easy because there's a very kind of distinct visual, right, visual trajectory of his paintings. Okay, so, and if you guys want to check on your computer, right, just go Google, etc., etc. Oh, that's how he looked. No, this looks like Joyce, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Anyway, so we have lots of Mark Rothkos here. Wow. Of course, it doesn't no words. Okay, this one works. Right? Who became famous, right, in the second part of his life. So we're talking about 50s, 60s, 70s for his color field paintings. Right? A particular development in the 15th, 20th century abstraction. And as a number of other artists of his generation, so he was in New York, and in the 1930s and 1940s, he was doing something which was more similar to European surrealism, and then there was a shift, and he developed his own unique style. So we took, how many people use ArtStore? Yeah. No? Okay. You've said, okay, so ArtStore is basically like the standard database used by most people in America and some other countries, and we have access to it to teach our history. So it's a service, it's a big project funded by Mellon and Mellon Foundations and other sources, and they get digital images from lots of museums, MoMA, Metropolitan, etc., and then make these images available within a particular interface. So now, for example, in my department, right, where history people don't have access to the slides anymore, which we complain a lot because a couple of years ago our library kind of has thrown away all the slides. So now we have to force the we have to go use the ArtStore. Okay? So of course you can also go and look for images online, right? But when you can find lots of images, you actually find more images of particular artists, a particular cultural phenomenon online, but you often don't get the dates, right, or the authors. So we go use ArtStore, which looks like this. So here it is. So let me see if we can go in there. Okay, let me show you all my credit card numbers, so in case you feel like you to a spouse. Here we go. Okay. I'll get my car insurance numbers. So if you want to go pay my car insurance here. It's the ultimate act, I think, of self-revelation, right? To show you my passwords. So here it is. Okay, so here we are. We get lucky. I'm not going to Switzerland. So maybe it blocks us from here, but because it turns out, we have to say, okay, well, what so far? So if we go and we say, then search. We're going to limit ourselves to paintings. And we're going to say, Mark Rothko. And we're going to get everything.